here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat. Bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more. So that makes me think of a student that I had one time who wanted to become a better receiver, or wanted to become a better bottom. I'm going to say receiver. Mm-hmm. And he was thinking that meant that because he was being done to, that his job was to like what was happening, even when he didn't. And it was as if there was this underlying question of how do I get better at liking something that I don't actually like?
It's so interesting because it's almost saying your humanness is not allowed here, right? How sad. How sad that wouldn't feel available, as someone who would be working with many people in the follower receiver position. That is the most important thing, is because it's not about what I'm doing to another person. It's, I'm not focused on, okay, now I got to spank them, and now I got to tie them up, and now I got to do this to them, and I got to do that to them. What I want to do is help my partners feel themselves more. Mm-hmm. I want them to feel their bodies more. I want them to feel their truth more. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a remembering, what do they need to remember? With this gentleman you're referring to, and they need to remember that their voice matters, mm-hmm. That their truth is important and it's welcomed, and get curious around where did you learn to tolerate and to withhold yourself? Because while the people pleasing on the surface might feel like I'm trying to be a good person and be nice, it's also manipulation, mm-hmm. at the end of the day. So is there a way that you're not feeling safe to really bring your full self forward? Is there something that I'm contributing to the space where you feel like you can't be radically honest with me in the moment? Because that's what is going to bring that life force energy into fruition. And it's not going to be playing the role. It's not going to be complying when it doesn't feel authentic. It's going to be being in the uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Dude, if you can take a fucking whipping, and you can't just tell me I don't like something, where's the disconnect there? Yeah. What's going on there? You can actually take so much, but the idea of maybe rejection or being judged or something like that is going to be challenging for you. So let's play with that. Mm-hmm. Let's play why don't we really lean into judgment and maybe humiliation even? Let's actually play with that, because it has power over you and it has a charge to it already. But if we consciously agree to playing with it in service to your evolution, you can learn a lot. And that's why people get so confused, because the work that I do is meant to really bring people back to wholeness again. But people get confused around well, how do you do that in humiliation? In degrading someone? How does that work? And I'm well, think about it. Think about creating a space where these things exist in life. We're always humiliating ourselves, and we are receiving rejection and humiliation from others in a lot of different ways. It does happen. And it's not that it's bad that happens. It's what it does to you. Does it deteriorate you? Does it make you doubt yourself? Does it take you off path? Because those are the problems, not the humiliation. Humiliation is not the problem. The problem is how you play with it and how you register it. So if we're going to actually say, let's play with it for reals and see what happens, people start to feel like they become less bound by the humiliation. I've talked to many women who are it doesn't bother me if some guy calls me a slut, a bitch, whatever. It doesn't bother me at all. Those words don't hold any meaning for me. And in fact, I can use those words to get turned on, mm-hmm. and to play with them. Yeah. Things like psychological kink. We talk about mind fucking all the time. It's almost like consensual gaslighting.
I've never heard it called that, but
yeah, mind fucking it's consent. Yeah. It's about keeping people off balance and about playing with insecurities and self-doubt to keep them destabilized.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. That's so interesting. I've never heard it paired in that way.
Yeah. So if we're playing with psychological kink and we're aware of that, And we know that as we go in, we can actually start to acknowledge like how this is happening unconsciously in our lives. And we can actually, again, come from a place of choice, because like, oh, I felt these things in my body. I didn't know what it was, but now I'm feeling it in this consensual space. And I know like there's some familiar threads from past relationships or whatever those things are that I experienced that maybe felt somewhat traumatic and actually kind of took me off path. But I can actually play with this in a conscious way, and I can strengthen my resolve. I can actually have a clearer mindset moving through this, because I've played with this. I played with all of these things, like it's just like when you're in the military, they do all these like test runs, and like, there's these practice rounds of things for like when real war goes down. Like it's like that almost. Like you can play with gaslighting, you can play with humiliation, you can play with it being degraded, you can play with every fucking thing, like legit with everything. You can play with every single thing. I tell people all the time, I'm the biggest pervert you're ever going to meet.
No, I am. Stop
yes, it. High five. That's amazing. Yeah. Because it's like, how do I pervert everything in my life? How do I pervert this conflict I'm having with my boyfriend, and like start to notice how I'm being, a total sadist to him, and I'm not acknowledging my sadism at the moment, and he's not acknowledging his masochism in the moment. And how am I unconscious about the ways I'm being a kinky bitch? Like I'm being such a kinky bitch. Yeah, exactly. And all of these things. But let's pervert it instead of, having it take us down. Like, let's actually get off on it and play with that energy and tell your partner, like, hey, like, do you want to just like flog the shit out of me right now? Or like, want to just like move this energy in a pleasurable, erotic way, and see like what we can find out and understand about ourselves and each other in that practice, as opposed to stonewalling and withdrawing and continuing to focus on who's right and who's wrong. Like, can we actually play with what's happening in our dynamic and see like how we can transform it and alchemize it? Because kink is alchemy. It's all about alchemy at the end of the day.
It is. And that takes such a level of self-trust, though, to be able to go into these situations and know I'm playing right now. We're playing right now. This is my line. This isn't what I want to do. This is what I want to do, to be able to surrender in that way.
Yeah. As it's been said, we're each other's mirrors, but we're also each other's doorways. You know what I mean? Like it's a opportunity to say like, I am reflecting something back at you, but I can also help bring you into a new portal. Like we can actually help each other do that again through the consciousness piece, which I think is so important. That Carl Jung says, like, when the unconscious doesn't go conscious, we go through life calling it fate. And that's a lot of people's experience. So it's about how do we bring things into consciousness through play, through perversion. That's consensual and co-collaborative and co-creative. And we start to say like, I can actually do this in all of my life. I can be co-creative and collaborative in all of my life. I can be the dominatrix of my life. I can be the creatrix, the shamanatrix, whatever you want to call those titles. But again, it's the practice and it's the play and it's the strengthening of that really gets you into that frequency of like, okay, like I'm going to be a pervert with all of life. And that just makes life way more interesting and fun, in my opinion.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex Love Psychedelics.